A legendary bottle forged in the days when Skyrim was just starting its turn to ice. A small container made of the magically infused snow that first fell on the throat of the world. It is said that the vial will replenish whatever fluid is placed inside of it. The ancient relic known as the White Phial is steeped in mystery and folklore among the alchemists of Tamriel. It is their holy grail, their bottomless cornucopia, capable of amplifying, purifying, and eternally refilling any concoction poured within. Had the knights and warriors of Tamriel not been so busy with petty squabbles and waging the wars of wealthy lords, they would have certainly set out on a quest to retrieve this legendary artifact. But when we meet the old wizened alchemist named Nurelion, who travelled all the way from the glimmering glass isle of Somerset to the frozen tundras of the north, we will soon be sent on the fabled journey to recover the vessel blessed with mystical magics. Hey guys, it's Scott here and welcome back to FudgeMuppet. In this video, we're going to follow the story of Nurelion the Alchemist and learn the secrets behind a fascinating item found in the land of Skyrim known as the White Phial. When we discover the Alchemist Shop of the same name located in Windhelm's Market District, it appears to be like any other apothecary. We know that alchemists have a knack for being eccentric types, just take our old friend Sindirian for example, but the elderly Altmer speaking to his assistant within the shop seems to be even more loony than usual, and he's talking about a relic he has spent his whole life in search of.
I'll be fine.
Master, you're far too old for this sort of journey. We don't know what's inside.
I can... just...
You see, you're not well. Have a seat, and I'll fetch you some tonic.
Oh, if there was a tonic that could help me, I would have found it by now.
What were you arguing about?
Just a man's life work is all. I finally derived the location of the White Phial, but this doting busybody won't let me get it.
If you tell me where it is, I can get it for you.
You would do that? It's good to know there are some people out there who are willing to help an old man. It's buried with its maker, Coralmill, in a long-forsaken cave to the west of here. Coralmill was a crafty one, even in death. You would need the skills of a master alchemist to reach its resting place. Luckily for you, I've already made the mixture. Here, take it. Please, don't dally. I've wasted enough time arguing with my useless assistant here.
Why is the file so important to you?
I've spent my entire life searching for it. It brought me all the way to these frozen reaches from the warm embrace of Somerset Isle. Entire years spent in libraries, seeking out tiny villages with local legends that contain but a whisper of a hint of the phial. I even named my shop after it, hoping that it might attract anyone who had heard of it. And now it's within my grasp. But the eight, it seems, have chosen me for their amusement. For in my current condition, I'll never be able to lay my hands on it.
What is the White Phial?
A legendary bottle, forged in the days when Skyrim was just starting its turn to ice. A small container made of the magically infused snow that first fell on the throat of the world. It is said that the phial will replenish whatever fluid is placed inside of it. For an alchemist like myself, it is the most pure expression of my art. To create from nothingness is poetry.
Speaking of poetry, it's rather poetic that this elf's one chance of survival relies on finding the object he has spent his life in search of, and time is of the essence. Thankfully, the Dragonborn can achieve most mortals' life goals in one quick, painless quest, but that's just the benefit of being the protagonist. Norelian gives us some information as to what makes this object so valuable, and we spoke briefly of it before, but how can one simple container possess such preternatural powers? Well, this magically infused snow Norelian spoke of, which was used to forge the vial, is called unmelting snow, and its physics-defying properties are exactly what the name suggests. Even if you dropped a handful of this pure white snow in the center of the Alaki desert, it would retain its shape, and it wouldn't melt. This is because, according to Norelian's assistant Quintius, the Greybeards supposedly taught the snow to ignore the sun, causing heat to simply wash over it. It's hard to say how accurate this statement is. Thinking logically, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The Greybeards are a revered order of philosopher monks, and they have a strong bond with the ways of the voice and the art of the thumb. But beyond that, they are not known for having any abilities as noteworthy as defying the hot gaze of the sun. On the other hand, the reason they live in silence is to better attune themselves to the voice of the sky, and simply whispering in the dragon tongue can summon storms or shake mountains. So perhaps Kinnereth, or whomever holds dominion over the forces of nature, would grant them the skill to train snow to defy its natural melting process. Anyways, our quest will take us to the Forsaken Cave in the eastern reaches of the Pale. Snow bears, ice wraiths, and Draga guard the way, but nothing to cower the mighty Dragonborn. Through the Forsaken Cave and the Forsaken Crypt beneath it, we come face to face with the man who created the White Phial. Only it's less of a face and more of a skull draped in decaying grey skin. It's hard to imagine, but this savage Draga was once a sophisticated man, a master alchemist of the ancient times. Kurulmil must have tracked down the unmelting snow created by the Greybeards, and then used the magical powder to forge the vial. Beyond his coffin, a bowl is inlaid in the stone, and we must fill it with Norelian's mixture, opening the door nestled on the cave wall. And behind the door, a room supposedly untouched by mortal hands for thousands of years awaits. Only there appears to be fresh flowers present, and a set of bubbling alembics and retorts. On a pedestal at the back of the room, the White Phial waits for its new wielder, only it is cracked and unusable. When we return to Norelian's store, the counter is unattended, and the old elf is upstairs, sitting by the fire.
This, it matches every description of the phial that I've found in lore. But if it can't hold liquid, there's no way of knowing. How did you manage to damage it then? This is what I get for not retrieving it myself.
I guess this master alchemist can't simply patch up the cracks. Quite the problem-solving genius we have here. It was like this when I found it.
Figures. I doubt you have sufficient knowledge to harm the phial, even if you wanted to. Either way, this is the end of it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm not quite in the mood to entertain guests. I trust you can show yourself out. Here's for your trouble.
5 pieces of gold. Now, if you choose to close the video, stop following along with my telling of the story, and kill the ungrateful bastard here right now, I wouldn't blame you. Alternatively, we can speak to Norelian's assistant, who will give us a more fitting reward of 500 gold. Now, with the quest seemingly over, we'll have to wait a few days. Eventually, a courier will seek us out with a letter from Quintius the apprentice. Quintius believes that he has a means to repair the vial, and he wants our help in making it happen. His letter reads, "During Norelian's convalescence, I've been studying the legends of the vial. I don't know enough about enchanting to make one anew, but with the proper materials, I may be able to repair the original. Please come to see me as soon as you can. Respectfully, Quintius." At Norelian's shop, Quintius awaits us. You think you know how to repair the vial?
I have some thoughts. There are 3 crucial elements. Some may be easier to find than others. On the top of the throat of the world is a patch of unmelting snow. No heat can touch it. Then we need the tusk of a mammoth, ground to a fine powder as only the giants know how. The final step is tricky. It requires the briar heart from a forsworn of the Reach. If you can bring me these materials, the phial can again be made whole.
If we probe further about the reasons for his ingredient list, he will explain that the briar heart is important because
the final tempering of the phial was performed with a type of old magic that's been lost since the Dragon War. The nearest modern incarnation of it is the strange rituals practiced by the Forsworn. With the heart of one of their briar warriors, I can lock the Phial's magic into its physical form. It's difficult to explain to the layman. Forgive me if I begin waxing alchemic.
As for the Mammoth Tusk powder,
the ivory produced by those beasts is as hard as iron, but the giants have found ways to make it yield. They're able to grind it down so fine that it can be infused into the lattice of packed snow. The finished material has the delicate nature of fresh powder snow, but the strength of the hardest steel.
And finally, the unmelting snow.
On top of the throat of the world is a patch of snow that's never melted. They say the Greybeards taught it to ignore the sun, and the heat simply washes over it. The original Phial was made from this snow. We'll only need a small bit for the repairs.
The ingredients are pretty straightforward to obtain. The powder is in the vat beside the giants at Stonehill Bluff. The Briarheart can be torn from the corpse of any Forsworn Briarheart in the Reach. Funnily enough, you don't even need a Briarheart that has been used in the Forsworn ritual. The Briarheart Quintius sells at the White Phial shop will do the trick. Finally, the unmelting snow. Well, this seems pretty underwhelming. Just below the peak of the tall mountain, a seemingly random patch of snow can be harvested for the sacred unmelting variety. How the Greybeards, Curamil, and Quintius know where the patch lies is beyond me. You'd think that this high-altitude breeze would scatter that magic powder across the province, but nevertheless, this snow defies the power of the sun. Back at the shop, we can get the ingredients to Quintius, and he will immediately get to work. When it is ready, he will approach the bedridden Nurelion.
Master, look. It's the Phial.
What? How?
It doesn't matter. Look. It's refilling with your tonic as we speak.
Marvelous.
He is gone. But thanks to you, he died knowing his life's work was not in vain.
I'm sure that was a great consolation. Salvation was within arm's reach and the old coot died before he could take it. Well, I guess I'm sorry to hear that.
As am I. You acted very nobly in helping my master realize his life's work. Thank you for that. As for myself, I've always been content to simply be an alchemist. I fear keeping the Phial would just remind me of Nurelion's obsession and how it consumed him. Here, keep it. You are as much a part of its legend now as Curamil was. I hope it brings you the happiness that my master desired. Now, how would you like me to align the Phial's properties? I'm not as skilled as Curamil, so I'm afraid it will only ever refill with one type of liquid.
We now have the choice between 6 potions. They act much like any other potion, only the Phial will refill its contents once each day. It can be used as a health potion, a magic potion, stamina, magic resistance, fortify one-handed, or fortify sneak. But that choice is yours. The potions are useful, but hardly anything mind-blowing. The powers of the Vial are interesting from a lore perspective. It says a lot about the abilities of the Greybeards if what Quintius says is true, and there's no doubt that the Phial is in some way inspired by the Holy Grail in Arthurian legends. Like the Grail or the cornucopia portrayed in ancient European mythology, the Phial provides sustenance in infinite abundance. But unlike its inspirations, the White Phial is definitely somewhat underwhelming. Its appearance is understated and bland, perhaps built for practicality over wonder, and in-game, its effects are not too overpowered. I guess the moral of this story, using the case of Nurelion as an example, is if you devote your whole life to achieving one goal, strive to achieve it before you're old enough to die of old age, with success inches from your face. But there you have it guys, the full story of the White Phial. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. Thanks so much for watching. I've been Scott, and I'll see you next time.